If you love movies and movie discussions, you've come to the right place. Who am I, you ask? I am the Wiz, and I'm here today with...
Kim Shactman.
Kim, how are you doing this week?
Good. It's been a long and busy week, but I'm glad it is the weekend.
Oh, I know. I know how that used to be. I used to work 6 days a week, and once Sunday came, I was like, bleh.
Yeah, you're a big pile of mush.
Yeah, I'm not doing anything anymore, so just leave me alone.
Right.
We are here to review the 1998 comedy Rushmore, starring Jason Schwartzman, Bill Murray, and Olivia Williams, directed by Wes Anderson. Now, before we get into this, Kim, we need to make a correction from last week.
Okay.
We made the statement that the movie that we reviewed last week was your first black and white film that we reviewed. It wasn't.
What did we watch before?
A Hard Day's Night.
Oh, yeah. So it was my second.
Yes. It was just that A Hard Day's Night was so forgettable that we kind of just let it go.
We forgot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, cool. So second one.
Thank you, Morgan, for letting us know. So.
Oh, really? They let us know?
Yes. Wes Anderson has a very eclectic taste. Now, we've reviewed a bunch of films this week. Me and Zero. I did one by myself. A bunch of films from Wes Anderson this week. Wes Anderson is a director I actually really like. Wes Anderson has a very singular style in both the way he writes and the way he directs.
Right.
So, you noticed that when watching the film?
Yeah, I've seen Moonrise Kingdom before.
Really?
Yeah, and I liked that film. I watched it with my husband, and he could take it or leave it, but I found it interesting. I kind of like the style. I'm not gushing over it, or it's not anything I would be, in love with, but I think it's different, and I think it still draws my attention.
So Moonrise Kingdom is one that a lot of people find to be one of their favorite Wes Anderson films. It's not mine. I actually was kind of mixed on Moonrise Kingdom. Like, my three, and this is probably going to spoil my review.
Well, have you seen, the majority of his films?
There's only one film I haven't seen, and that's Asteroid City, because it just came out, and I saw Darjeeling Limited on Wednesday, which is the other one I haven't seen, but the rest now I have seen all of them at this point.
The thing is I don't really have much to compare Moonrise Kingdom to, because that's the only film I've seen by him.
Okay, that's fine. I mean,
yeah. And now this one, obviously.
I don't hate Moonrise Kingdom. I just don't understand the love for it.
Why it's everyone's favorite of his.
It's one of their favorites, yes. Like, my top three would be, number 3 is Grand Budapest Hotel, 2 is Royal Tenenbaums, and 1 is this movie, Rushmore. So
I feel like I may have seen bits and pieces of Royal Tenenbaums, but I'm not sure.
Well, if
you like it, I'll have to go back and watch it.
I really like Rushmore and Royal Tenenbaums is like a 1A, 1B situation. Like, it can change. I can change my mind as to what's really number one, but it's one of those two. But usually Rushmore is the one that goes up top for me. But I do like Wes Anderson quite a bit. It's just that. Just like the Coens, they're more celebrated films than ones where I'm like, really?
Yeah.
So while we get into the review, we'll get into the review of Rushmore, directed by Wes Anderson. Let's go into your opinion, since I've already stated what mine is to a certain extent. So what are your thoughts on Rushmore?
Well, because you had seen this film before. This wasn't your first time watching it. Yeah, this was my first time watching it. I enjoyed it. I really did. I felt that the story was they made it seem like a little bit complex, but it really wasn't.
Okay.
With the main character, where he was just he was like your typical 15-year-old, but he wasn't. And I really enjoyed that about how they kind of portrayed him. And then obviously his adult relationships, with other adults. It was just very interesting to me. And I was like, and the way they shot the film and the way, I just felt like it kind of all came together where, yes, it's a little bit quirky. It's a little bit weird. I watched it with my husband and he's like, yeah, no, I don't like this movie at all. He couldn't get into it. He was on his phone for the majority of the film. But I watched it with him last night and it kept my interest. And I thought it was just kind of, I don't know how to explain it. It's hard to get out. It was just different, but it still all worked together. How long is the film? Is it almost 2 hours?
It's an hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah, but it didn't feel that long. I didn't feel like I was like, okay, like, let's go. What's the next thing that's going to happen?
Mhm.
I don't know. I just thought it was interesting too on how they captured the main character's kind of, I don't want to say coming of age, kind of.
The way I look at Max Fisher, Max is a kid who intellectually and sophisticatedly is an adult. He has a very
Yes.
he thinks very erudite and highly in a way that most kids would not. However, he has the starkest of impulses of somebody that age. He is a kid who basically knows what he wants, knows how to get it, and knows exactly what he needs to do and what he needs to concentrate on, except he is in the mind and and has the hormones and the social sophistication of a very stunted 15-year-old.
I was going to say, yeah, like his social aspects, like he would just continuously want to be the leader of different avenues within, clubs and different things within his schools. And it was just interesting. But then at the same time, he couldn't hold his grades to save him. Like, like it was just interesting how that all played out.
Like his thing is basically he gets how to get up the top. He doesn't have the basics for it. Like the basics is
from like a social perspective.
It's kind of like somebody who says, I want to be a high-rising CEO, and they act like the CEO, but they do not understand what it took to get there. And that's basically what I think Fisher is in this movie, is that he's personification of somebody who knows what he wants and knows how to act the part. He just doesn't know how to get to that specific circumstance. And I think that's what the film is really is truly about. Is he is a kid who essentially knows what his station in life is. He just doesn't know how to get there, and he doesn't.
And also too, I feel like he knows what his station is like in life is, but he thinks that is almost living an adult life, and he's not an adult.
No,
like he's 15 years old.
No, he knows how adults act. He knows how they speak. He knows how they converse and get things done on that higher level. But on the lower level of how they built up to that point, not only is he woefully inadequate, it seems like the adults in his life don't give him what he needs to get there. Like his father is very, how do I say this? I guess he's supportive, but he's supportive in the wrong ways.
Right.
The leader of the school, I guess the principal or the headmaster or whatever, is someone who thinks highly of him, but does nothing to steer him there. Does nothing,
or to support him to be a teenager and succeed in other ways too.
Right, and which dovetails into him meeting Herman Bluth, who is played by Bill Murray in one of his best performances. It is.
Is it Bluth or Bloom?
Bloom. Did I say Bluth?
Okay. You did.
Oh, Arrested Development. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I know. I was like, where are you going with that?
Okay. So he meets Herman Bloom, and Herman's got a really screwed up situation in his life. He is unhappy in his marriage, even though he's a very successful businessman. He is unhappy
he's
there
too. He's like a billionaire.
Yeah. He is incredibly unhappy, too, with his business. He hates his kids.
I was just going to say his children.
Yes.
Hates them, which is awesome.
Yeah,
this is so funny.
Herman and Max strike up a bond that is incredibly endearing, but strange, but not in a weird way. It's more of like a big brother, little brother thing, but it seems like they both get something out of it, but they're both toxify each other in a way that is very unhealthy.
Yeah, it's funny. It's almost too, at first I felt like Bloom wanted Fisher to be almost like his son, father figure at the beginning, but then it turns into not so much. Like you said, it's more like, brother. Yeah.
And then that relationship gets thrown a wrench by Rosemary Cross, who is a kindergarten teacher at Rushmore Academy, who is played by Olivia Williams, that Max is falling in love with. And these are desperate elements that I think in other teen movies it would have been done in a longer film. This was made in the 90s, okay? Mm-hmm. Think about this type of movie in the style of 10 Things I Hate About You. That's what most of these films would have been like. But because of the way that Wes Anderson does this film, the way he shoots it, the way the characters act, it has a much more wholesome but yet also darker tinge to it that I actually really like. It does,
yeah. It's actually kind of depressing in a way. Like, you just really feel for, Max throughout the film.
Really? You do?
Yeah, because, again, like, I just feel like he's kind of alone in his endeavors, and he, like, nobody really is checking in with the poor kid. Like, they're just kind of, like, going with it.
He's one of those people who is alone but has a lot of people around him. Like, since he does so many clubs, and he runs all these different clubs that people just think, oh, he's...
And he creates clubs, and he's, like, writing plays. Like, he's very, like, socially smart, and it's like he doesn't have time for his academics when that's really what he should be focusing on based on his age.
Right.
And where he needs to get. But, like, he has, like, no support system. But like you said, like, but there's plenty of people around to be that support system, but that just they don't.
And another thing that this film does that makes you understand why that is that Max, even though he is likable and socially awkward, his social awkwardness really is a problem because he does some really screwed up things.
Yes.
It can be excused because he is so emotionally stunted and socially stunted. But, like, when he starts to court Miss Cross, it's really...
Or he tries to.
It's really weird. And when he talks about his friend Dirk and his mother, that's really weird. But
it's really funny, though.
Oh, yeah, it is. But he doesn't do himself favors. But you feel bad for him because he doesn't know how else to act.
He doesn't realize, like, what he's doing almost.
Right. And it's funny that a film can be this richly complex about a character in just 90 minutes, because usually you need 2 hours and 2 hours and 30 minutes to do that. Right. But Max is so well defined in this movie, I think not only because of how well written the film is, but of Jason Schwartzman's performance. He could have played this character incredibly awkward and for yucks in comedy and would have just been a whole different thing. But he gives the character much more depth than I think other young actors at the time would with this character.
Like you said, like, it's depth, but there is that overlay of, like, a little bit of darkness. I also feel that a lot of the aloneness that maybe he feels or lack of support, like, you also have to take into consideration the deaths in this film. His mother is deceased, and then the kindergarten teacher that he wants to have an adult relationship with, even though he's 15 years old, her husband died a year prior.
Right.
I really like the writing of this story because it makes sense, right? Like, maybe the father's coping with the fact that the mother's dead and, like, he doesn't know how to raise his son on his own. You know what I mean? Like, and then she's like, well, I guess I'll entertain this 15-year-old boy because my husband died a year ago and he reminds me of my husband. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's, like, they just wrote it so well where it does fit and it does make sense on why they are acting the way they are.
The writing in this is excellent. Both the comedy and the drama, like you mentioned, are really good, which is why I wish Owen Wilson and Wes Anderson would just keep writing more movies. And I really would like him back because his type, I guess the way he and Wes Anderson writes, just has this really good push and pull of drama and comedy that really works well in most of his movies.
Yeah, and is this the only movie that they've done together?
No, they have done Bottle Rocket, which is the first movie they did together. They did Rushmore, The Royal Tenenbaums, The Darjeeling Limited. Wow. Owen Wilson hasn't really done a film with him, I think, in a while. I think he's actually, it's been mostly Jason Schwartzman who's been doing a lot of films with Wes Anderson.
Well, so I saw, like, the name, Owen Wilson. I'm like, is that really him?
Yep, that's him. Academy Award nominated writer Owen Wilson. The jokes too are corny.
Oh my god, they're so funny.
But they're so corny.
They are, but, like, I think the funniest parts was when Bloom and Fisher were trying to destroy each other.
Oh god.
It was just hilarious. When he puts the bees in the hotel room.
And,
Oh my god.
and the best thing about that scene is the reaction from Bill Murray as Bloom, where at first he smiles when he realizes that son of a bitch, and they were like, "Oh fuck, they're bees."
Yeah. It's so good.
Like, and a part of him is proud of Max for what he's doing, but on the other hand, he's like, "You
like,
fucker."
wow, how the hell did he pull that off? That little shit. Like, and then he runs over his bike. It's so funny. Like, and it's like like you said, it's a little bit of like a dark comedy.
Funnily enough, a lot of the darkness is not coming from Max or Rosemary, who's dealt with the death of people that they love. It's Herman. Bill Murray plays him really well.
Yeah,
really well. He has this expressionless look on his face, like, I don't just give a fuck of what's going on.
He's like, I have a lot of money, but I don't fucking care. Like, oh my god, when he's at the birthday party and he's throwing the golf balls into the pool, I was like dying laughing, and everyone's just staring at him like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah. And he plays that character really, really well. This is unfortunately, this is not the movie he got the Academy Award nomination for. Even though the one he did get one for, I thought he deserved it as well. But this is his best performance. I think both in comedy and drama, this is the best he's done in a movie, period. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen like a ton of the movies that he's been in, but so far, I would have to agree with you on that.
Yeah. You haven't seen Lost in Translation, right?
No, I haven't seen that.
Okay, so yeah, there is a lot that he's done recently, both drama and comedy, that are actually pretty damn good. As a dramatic actor, he's not bad. I'm not going to call him a Daniel Day-Lewis or something like that, but he's very good at that. But his mix of comedy and drama here, I think, is really well done. Let's get through performances real quick.
Yeah, because we kind of pivoted into that section.
Olivia Williams is fine in this. I think she's good. She plays the character well enough in this. If there was more with this character than was given, then she probably would have given a better performance. But because she was the object of affection for Max in this movie and in other areas, she was basically typecast into this role of being the dream girl. She does well with it, but
like I thought it was okay.
Yeah,
like I wouldn't think she was. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think like for the characters that thought she was a dream girl, it made sense. But like, I wouldn't say she's anything to write home about.
No. She was lovely in this film, but
it was fine.
That was kind of her thing to be in this movie, was just to be,
to
have a little bit of pathos in certain scenes, but to be that dream girl, that dream woman that they were pining over.
Right.
And then Jason Schwartzman is really good in this. I think.
Oh, yeah.
He does well in other films, but this is still his best performance. But he works well with Wes Anderson. So when you say to somebody, "Oh, your best performance is when you were a kid," that kind of comes off kind of bad. But this
might be hard to take. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is a really good performance. Like, this is.
But again, like, it's almost like, maybe he was supposed to be a kid, but he was also. It was written for him to kind of act like an adult. So, and that's hard to pull off, being a kid, but trying to act like an adult.
So here's the thing, though. Like, I know adults who are like Max Fisher. With the way that he was in that movie, I believe that character could exist to be a 15-year-old who acts like that. A lot of actors, when they try and pull something off, look at the comedies from like the 80s and 90s that are teen comedies, and there's always the guy, the kid who acts very sophisticated, has a suit, and acts very professionally, and he looks awkward as fuck. He looks really weird. He looks off.
He stands out, and people are like, "Oh, that's like the outcast that thinks he's like older than everybody."
Right, and those are meant to be played for like yucks as comedy, as just, oh, look at that awkward little fuck.
Yeah.
Like, Max in this movie feels right. I feel like he could exist. He's not a caricature. I guess that also helps with the way they wrote the character and how Schwartzman performs him, because he performs him incredibly well in this movie.
He is very independent, and it shows, but it sticks out to the point where it's not sticking out. It intertwines really well, and it just seems like he is just being himself instead of like being an outcast or being like no, I'm going to be myself, and I'm going to have high self-esteem, and I'm just going to run with it, and people are going to follow me. Like, he's like a leader.
Absolutely. I think one of the best things about Max, there are some people who portray Max Fisher as like an ultimate pretentious asshat. I don't think he's pretentious at all. I think he is very intelligent, this character, and I think that he knows what he wants. He's very driven in it, but he just, like we said in the beginning, lacks the direction to get to that station. He acts like he's there, and I guess that's where
he has no guidance from anyone else. It's just, yeah.
But I think that's where some of the pretension comes from with some people, is that he acts like he's there, but he doesn't have the requisite ability to actually get to where he wants to be. He just knows what he has to do to perform the part. But he performs it very well, and in those certain circumstances where he needs to do that stuff, he's really good at it. And they portray it well in the movie. But they also show how flawed he is because he's just lacking in the general direction that he needs to be in. Like, I think this is more about a character who lacks direction than actually is of full pretension, is how I would look at it specifically.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I didn't feel that watching it. I didn't feel like he was pretentious.
Yeah. So let's get into direction real quick. This is one of the reasons why I love Wes Anderson, and Wes Anderson is a very acquired taste for some people. Some people love him. Like, I'm one of them. I love his work. Others are like, oh my God. Like, why
like my husband.
Oh, yeah? Why is the camera got to be that close? Why do they talk like that? Why do they act like that?
Well, also, too, like, I mean, for my husband, it was just more like, I'm really bored. I don't care enough about this to care about it type of deal.
While it is stylized, it's dry.
Right.
It has a wit to it. Rushmore was the first of Anderson's films that I saw where I was like, oh, wow, this is really different and really good. And Rushmore still has that for me. I just love the way the characters are and the way that the film looks, and the music is really good, too.
Yeah. No, I agree. They did a really good job with it. Mm-hmm. I felt like it was just kept my interest, and it flowed well. The direction went well with how they wanted to portray each character. Mm-hmm. And it just made sense, especially the way they kind of flowed together in a sense.
Yeah.
I almost kind of really enjoyed the darkness of the film too. Because again, it's like you said, it's a comedy. So it's dark, but there's also some really great humorous scenes.
A lot of the dark comedy is in those humorous scenes. We mentioned the pool scene with Bill Murray where he is cannonballing into the pool, and a lot of the comedy, I think the darker comedy aspects, is Bill Murray in this movie.
For sure.
So yeah. Okay, so we're gonna do spoilers for Rushmore, the 1998 film directed by Wes Anderson. If you have not seen it, come back when you are ready. We'll get into spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, Kim, executive decision you just made. We're going to spoilers.
We weren't going to do them, then we were going to do them, then we weren't going to do them. And I'm like, I feel like we need to talk about it. I felt bad for Max, but at the same time, like, so basically what happened is Bloom went to go and start his own relationship with, what's her name again?
Miss Cross.
Miss Cross, thank you. Mm-hmm. It was almost like, Max introduced them just as his friend. And then he took on a love interest with Miss Cross, and then they kind of started dating behind Max's back, and then he found out, and I don't know, I just thought it was cute how at the end, Max kind of started to realize that he's not an adult, even though he's trying to act like it throughout the whole movie, and he has this adult love interest. I don't know, I just really thought that it was funny how Bloom tries to date her, and then, like, she breaks up with him, and he's, like, a total mess. Yeah. And you realize that he really, truly loved her because he was a total mess. Because when he was married, like, he was miserable, but he still had his shit together. Mm-hmm. He was still running a company, and he was still, dressing sharp and had his hair combed and all this. And then, she kind of broke it off with him. Was it she broke it off with him or he broke it off with her?
She broke it off with him when she realized that he just hates himself, essentially.
Yes. Okay, yeah. And then it's like, it's really bad when Max told the wife about the affair, and then she basically kicked him out of the house and was suing him. Him being, like, at the hotel, and he's, like, got all his bags, and he just looks like a pile of shit. And then, like, Max tried to help him get his life back together, and that in itself is a really grown-up thing to do at age 15.
I think the funniest scene where Bloom was in his worst state was in the hospital when they're in the
forgot about that part.
Where
They're in
he's
the elevator and he's like drinking and he puts the little nip bottle underneath the friggin' towels and then he's like has like a Diet Coke and he puts that under and oh my god, he just looks all disheveled and like shitty.
It's like, where'd you get that black eye from? Yeah, apparently you get that when you cheat on your kid's mom.
Yeah. The kids beat him up. Oh my god. The kids were like little shits and then at the end when he's like, yeah, the boys went to the Marines, they're loving it there, like or something like that. I was dying. I was like, oh my god.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. And I think another performance and another character that we have to talk about that doesn't get a lot of things in this movie, but really points to the growth and maturation of Max is Margaret Yang.
Yeah.
Played by Sarah Tanaka.
Yeah.
Adorable performance. I thought
she's so cute. Yeah.
She is. And honestly, that character, as small of a character as it is, really highlighted during a certain scene how much of a dick Max was, or Max is. Because
when she went to his house with the little succulent plant, and she gave it to the dad, and then, because she's like, is Max home? And I don't know what he says, but he's like, oh no, he's not home, whatever, gives him the plant. And she goes to walk away, and she sees Max sitting in the window, and she goes to walk over to him, and he shuts the damn shades on her.
Yeah, I know.
Like, oh,
yeah.
That's so mean.
I know. Such a sweet performance, and just a character that, for all intents and purposes, is really likable, that he just, for some reason, just shits on. I'm going to get into, like, some personal things. She reminded me of somebody in high school who, again, very smart, very sweet, very likable person that everyone shat on. She reminded me of somebody like that, and I was like, oh. I
think sometimes, like, I mean, obviously kids are super cruel in high school or school anyway, but I think sometimes they think that person that's sweet, and it could even be a male too, right? It doesn't have to be a female.
Oh, if it's a male, forget it, you're dead.
yeah, like sweet and kind and, you know, accepting of anyone, like, they just think of those people as like nerdy, which is sad because that's really not the case. They're just
weak.
Kind, right? And they're just kind people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a very small performance. There's not a lot of detail or growth to it, but it was definitely one that stuck out to me on this new watch, where I was watching and go, what a sweet performance. It was so nice.
I loved the play at the end. I thought it was like so funny because like cuts to a scene where he's like purchasing dynamite from like some random fucking person, and I'm like, what is he gonna do? Like, I was like, he's gonna blow up the fucking school. Like, he's gonna do something crazy. Like, I thought he was like really losing his mind. Like, I was like, oh my god, like what is gonna happen? And then he like pulls off this like fucking phenomenal play with like I don't know. It's probably based out of like what, World War One? No,
Vietnam.
World War One.
Vietnam.
Yeah, Vietnam. Okay, but like I was just like, oh my god, like this kid's a genius. Like,
but the funny thing about the play too is that it like with all artists, they pull from their life. And what they do in this play is they pull a bunch of things about every character that Max has been in orbit of. Vietnam, the fact that Bloom was a Vietnam veteran. Things about Miss Cross. Things about Dirk. Things about
because like in the play, like it has like him having one of the war heroes like as one of his buddies, and like that could be seen as like Dirk or even Bloom. And then like you said, like Margaret is, you know, the enemy, but she's not, like, at the end, because then they fall in love with each other. Like, it's just so, like, I was just like, wow, like, this is really good.
Yeah. I guess what it does, in a way, is it kind of makes it easier to swallow the darkness down.
Right.
With how well it's done. And just one other random thing. I just like that there's a random Scottish person at the school.
Oh my god, I was going to bring that up right after you were finished talking. I was just like, a random Scot, and he's like fucking hilarious.
I know.
Like, he's talking about how he's like getting hand jobs from the fucking little kid's mother all the time, and like the kid's like, what? Like, I'm just like, what the fuck is this guy? Like, and then how he like he's like, I have the perfect role for you. And he was like in the window shooting him with a fucking BB gun. Like, and he's like, what the fuck? And then he just picks up the play and he's like, I've always wanted to be in one of your plays. I was like, what? This kid is hilarious.
I know.
And he puts him in the play as a fucking Vietnam War like fucking vet, and like he plays it perfectly.
And this is why I
But
love.
he's Scottish.
I know. I know. There's no reason for him to be Scottish, but,
But
there he
is. Yeah, it's great.
And this is why I love Rushmore, and why I think it's Wes Anderson's best film. Because not only does the story work and the main characters work, and it's funny and it's touching, but even the things surrounding it is utterly entertaining and hilarious. Now, I get the style of the film is not for everybody, but it is warm in certain spots, it's dark in others, and it just overall is just a really well-executed, well-mixed film. It is really well done.
For sure.
You want to get into final thoughts?
Yeah, I think we're there.
Knock yourself out. Go right ahead.
So I give the film probably like a 3.5 out of 5 stars.
Okay.
I enjoyed it. Like you said, like Wes Anderson is definitely not a taste for everybody. He has his own style and it definitely shows through, especially in this film. But again, I don't have many to compare it to. If the film went on any longer, I would have probably wanted to get up and not finished it. It would have been able to hold my attention at that point. They executed it well where it wasn't overly lengthy, but they still gave depth to Max Fisher. So I appreciated that, and it made me want to continue watching. The performances were excellent, like all around. Mm-hmm. Like there wasn't even like one performance where I was just like, oh, that person kind of sucked. Like it wasn't like that at all. Like I didn't have those feelings. The writing was really, really good. I thought that, again, like it was just like story that was somewhat complex, but it shone through where you could understand where this character was coming from and some of the darkness he faced and how he carried it through the film. So yeah, I'd say 3.5 stars. I was kind of leaning towards 4, but I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if I'd watch it again. Maybe. Just because, again, it's a little bit of it's a unique style. And it didn't bore me. I guess it didn't resonate with me as much as I wanted it to because it is such a different style.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like, whatever. But I can appreciate it for what it is. And it's a pretty good, like, work of art.
So 3.5 out of 5?
Yeah.
Okay. So I originally gave this a 4. I'm giving it a 4.5 today. I think it is a really good movie. I think the mix of dark and light comedy in this movie, along with the drama, is really well done. A career best performance by Bill Murray, a career best performance by Jason Schwartzman. Maybe he'll do better in another movie one day. We'll see. But I think this is his best performance. Yeah, the mix of style, story, dialogue, music, everything is just incredibly well done in this movie. This is the one part I'm going to disagree with you on. I think there could have been more depth into the teacher. I would have minded an extra 10 or 15 minutes with that. But as it is still a fantastic movie. I really enjoyed Rushmore. I think it is a incredibly funny comedy that, even though it's not quotable, I still remember scenes from that film. And it's one of those rare films that when I'm watching it, it is not my style of comedy. I don't like corny comedies at all, but the way they execute everything is so well done, I can't help but laugh. The are they joke was just like, that is so damn corny.
I forgot about that. Oh my god, it was so stupid. I was just like, did he just say that?
I
but
know.
Then I have to chuckle because it's him. Like,
it's just so well done. It's so well done. And
it's
then
so well executed, yeah.
And then Bill Murray's
and then he's like, I'm sorry I gave him alcohol or something. Didn't he say that? I was just like, what?
You gave him a whiskey and soda. I was like, yeah, that was probably a bad idea.
Yeah, but like the way he says this is just so like funny. Like I forgot about that part. Oh my god, that is pretty hilarious.
Yeah. 4.5 out of 5 for me on this one. So 3.5.
So I have to ask.
Go ahead.
So when you said like, oh, more depth for the teacher, like what would you have done differently? Like, or what would you have added?
God.
I'm just curious.
That is
because like
so tough.
I know.
That is so tough.
Like, how do you make her how would you make her character more in depth? Like, maybe just more backstory of who she is?
Well, there's enough backstory, but like the problem with that character is not the performance of Olivia Williams. It's really just the matter of the fact that all she is a dream woman in this movie. That's all she is. And they give a little depth about her husband, and which gives the out of her not going for either Max, which would have obviously been weird, and Bloom.
Because in the movie she's like, "Oh, you remind me of my husband." Well, like, how? How does he remind you of your husband?
You then find out that he founded the Beekeepers Club, but that's
it.
That's it, really. But there could be a lot more. I don't know how exactly. Well, you would have done that.
Like, what are her dreams? Like, I feel like she's a kindergarten teacher, and then he accidentally gets her pretty much fired. But like,
not accidentally, she almost did, because if she hadn't have quit, then that.
Okay, yeah, I forgot. For some reason, I thought she did actually get fired, but yeah, you're right, she quit. What does she really aspire to want to do? You know, like, and how does that affect her relationship with them? I guess.
But that's the dream girl, dream woman trope. She is this object of affection that is a goal to be met. But next to nothing other than she's either cute, charming, attractive, hot, or attractive. Like that's kind of the thing. And that's really the only thing on it. Because for a film that is so well done with its characters, even its minor characters, like we just went over 5 minutes over the Scottish kid. Like really.
That guy's so funny.
Or Sarah Tanaka's character, Margaret, who's there for 2 minutes, and she is instantly likable and lovable because of how well she's written. Miss Cross is really the only one that's kind of bleh. It's kind of like her character. She's a dream woman. That's it.
She's supposed to just be
That would be the only thing that I would like to have more depth on. But a good point on you is, what would you do? It's like, I really don't know, because I don't know if I really want to change much out of this.
Would it make her not as dreamy if, like, she does have all these aspirations, and then you're getting into more of her character instead of the dreaminess of her?
But when you do that, then you would have to change the film a certain way in order to accommodate for that. Because the main...
I don't know. Maybe we just leave her be.
Possibly, yeah. But that's kind of the main thing of the film, is that at that point in the film, it's now become a competition. A weird competition that really isn't a competition, because neither men have a chance.
Right.
But
it's so funny.
Yeah.
Anyways, we digress.
No, that's a good question.
But I just wanted to ask, like, I'm like, I wonder, like, what he would do. If you had the chance to, pick, add some script to this film, like, what would you do?
The other thing also with these types of you know what? Let's finalize it, and we'll get into that. 3.5 stars out of 5 for Kim. 4.5 stars out of 5 for me for Rushmore. If you have not seen it, see it. I think it's really good. Kim liked it a little less, but I
do think it's worth a watch. Like, I wouldn't not recommend it to somebody, especially if they like that kind of little bit of dark humor and the wittiness. Like I'm thinking right off the top of my head, I'm like, I feel like my stepmom would really love this movie, because that's like her kind of comedy. Yeah. But like, if I recommended this to like my best friend, she'd be like, what the fuck is this? You know what I mean? Like, it just depends on like what you're into. And I'm somewhere in between, where I'm like, oh, I get it, but then a little bit of it's like, what the fuck, So
everyone has their own
thing. Yeah,
right. For sure. Absolutely. I want to get back into what you were discussing about what I would change in the film.
Yeah.
I just want to make one point about it. Like, I really don't like when people ask, oh, great film, you only give it like 4.5 stars. What would you change about it? Like, nothing really. There's nothing wrong with a film being not a 5-star film. Like,
not every film can be 5 stars.
Exactly. But let me give you an example. Notting Hill is a 4.5 for me. And you know how much I love Notting Hill.
There's nothing you would change about it.
No, not at all. I think that's the same way I would feel about with Rushmore. I would not change anything, because even the minor things I might not like about it adds to its charm in a weird way. You know what I'm saying?
True.
It's kind of like, let's get really deep and philosophical. It's like when you marry somebody.
Oh,
like,
Jesus
do you really
Christ.
want? Do you really
down
want?
This road?
Okay, no, let's go. Let's go into this, okay?
Okay, good.
Do you really want to change something about your husband? Even something that annoys the hell out of you.
Kidding. I'm just kidding.
Okay, maybe I'm cutting this.
Just joking. I love you so much.
I love you, dear.
I love everything about you. Wouldn't want to change a damn thing.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
even the things that
I really wouldn't. You know,
even the things that annoy you.
There's a few little things, but really not. You know, I would never want somebody to change for me.
No, but like what I'm saying is like I think I've come with my old age. Good Lord.
You're so fucking old.
I know, right? I've thought about this for a long time, and the things that I find attractive in people are usually the things that are the weird things, the off things. Well, they always
say the flaws.
The flaws. Yeah, absolutely. No, but that's absolutely true. The nice things just become kind of like, I don't know.
Regular.
Yeah, it's like, oh,
they become regular.
Yeah, you're hot.
Boring.
Or, yeah, you have a nice smile. Oh, yeah, you're charming. You know?
Anyone could do that.
But it's the fact that when you go to sleep, you fart a little. It's just like, oh, wow, that's so cute. I remember
It's hilarious. Like, we laugh about it together.
And then when they're not here, it's like, I miss her farts.
Yeah.
or like when they click their teeth, or when they or when they do.
It's true though.
It is
true. Aww.
Yeah, but it really is, and it's I feel the same way about films sometimes. Where yes, even like a 5-star film, like something that really hits me, I'm gonna find a few things I don't like about it. Like,
right.
How I am.
But like you say, like those things would not make the movie what it is for you.
Right.
Like if they took them out, then you'd be like, oh, I kind of missed that part. Like, you know?
I'll give an example, okay? For a film, Come and See is an amazing 5-star movie. It is one of my top 5 of all time.
Never seen it.
Don't see it. Like, don't see it. This is the film about the child soldier who's trying to survive an attack from the Nazis in Belarus.
Oh, Jesus Christ. No.
Whew. It is a harsh film.
Oh, yeah.
But it is
and like I'm really into true crime and stuff like that, but like there's something about like the Holocaust films, like I'll watch them, but they really stay with me for a long time.
Oh, and this will too. And it is oh man. There is one scene in the film. One scene. If I wanted to change, I would change. And there's a scene at the end where a car crash happens. And there is a woman sticking out in the debris of a mangled car. She's sticking out, grasping for air. But for some reason, you can see her breasts. And I'm like, why?
Is that really necessary?
Exactly. It's like, why? Why is that there? But at the time, when I watched it, I was like, oh, God, this is all so fucked up. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
But, like after watching it and going through it, I was like, wait, why was that scene there? I have an issue with that.
Yeah.
But that is so minor. So minor that it's like it doesn't really hurt the film all that much.
Right.
The key scene in the film that I would go on would be like the scene that sticks with me and is the reason why I will never watch this movie again. Is there's a scene in the film where the main character is staring at a young girl who is just assaulted sexually and physically by a group of Nazi soldiers. You don't see it. But it is implied that it happens. But she is got a bloody nose, bloody face, and she's got blood all over her legs.
Oh my God!
And she's blowing a whistle in a daze, like like she can't believe just what happened. They're staring at each other, but they're not. You understand what I'm saying? Like they are staring, they're locking eyes. But they're seeing through each other. And it's so well done. And it's so powerful that when the kid is walking away, like, I can't see any more of this, and walks away, the girl is still staring. And it's like, oh my God. It is a horrifying scene. Horrifying. It is beautifully done. It is intense in a way that
sad.
It is horrifying. It is one of those movies I am glad I watched because it is an amazing movie. I will never fucking watch it again.
Yeah.
Ever watch it again. And when I tell people who are into movies like this, oh, that's so sad. How can you not want to watch a great movie like that again? It's like, did you see it? Like, did you fucking see this movie? Like,
but now
you want to watch it.
Yeah, now I want to see it just to say I saw it once.
That's the same thing with me with Jeanne Dielman. I came off of Jeanne Dielman very mixed with it, but I'm glad I watched it. Jeanne Dielman is about a woman who lives in France who does chores and prostitutes herself.
Okay.
That's it. That's the movie.
That's the whole movie.
That's the whole movie.
But what is it? Just like very vulgar? Like
no, it is 3 hours and 37 minutes.
Jesus.
And it is literally a movie about her doing her chores and prostituting herself. There is barely any dialogue, and you are literally just watching her do chores and prostituting herself, and that's it.
Huh.
It is 3 hours and 37 minutes. This is the film that got the best film ever made from BFI Sight and Sound. Number 1.
Huh. What did you think about it?
It was like a 2.5 for me. I actually got a headache about 3 hours.
Yeah, that's a long movie, especially to have like not a lot of dialogue.
I get what it was trying to do. Again, it was one of those films like, I'm glad I watched it. Like, I'm glad I got to experience it. Mm-hmm. But after the film, it's like, you could have done this in an hour and 30 minutes and had the same effect. Like,
Right.
But a lot of people do appreciate it. It's one of those strange things. I don't think when they say they like it, I don't think they really like the experience. Like,
they like the idea of it.
I appreciate it. I appreciate what it's trying to say and do. Like, that's what I think they really mean by it. Like, I appreciate what it's trying to make me feel. Like, the absolute boredom and the absolute hopelessness that this woman's going through, that all she does is chores and whore herself out. And what happens at the end. It's just like, I get that. But, like, man, that could have been done in an hour and 30 minutes.
Right.
It didn't need to be 3 hours.
Like you said, like, if you know it's going to have the same effect, like, what's the
I
purpose?
think it will. It will. I might be wrong, but yeah. Okay, Kim, we are at the end of this episode, and we're going to talk about the next movie we're watching. You chose the theme this week. You basically talked to me last week, and were like, you're going to do what I say, damn it. Because I'm part of the show, too.
I was like, because I told him, I said, I love the themes. I love doing theme weeks.
Yeah.
I said, what did I say? School? Was that the theme of it?
Oktoberfest.
Oh, Oktoberfest.
Really? School is the previous one.
I can't even remember what theme I picked.
We did School the week we did Fast Times.
Oh, yeah,
Breakfast
Ridgemont
Club.
High. Yeah, I forgot about that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, school. No, like, I said, what about, like, beer, Oktoberfest? Like, we're getting into the fall, and
right.
we were, like, looking up all these beer movies, and they were all kind of like, And then I was like, let's do...
Yeah, what are we doing?
Old School.
We're doing Old School, the 2003 comedy starring Will Ferrell, Luke Wilson, and Vince Vaughn, directed by Todd Phillips. It's been a while since I've seen this, but I still remember a lot of the funny things about it.
Oh my God. My husband loves it too. I've seen it a bunch of times, but I haven't seen it in a little while now, so I'm excited to see it again.
All right. Yeah, again, been a while from me. I think the funniest thing about this film now is who directed it. But
who's the director?
Todd Phillips. Phillips, and all he used to do is comedies. But he went on a rave about around 2016, 2017 about how his style of films can't be made anymore. So he went on to direct and write Joker, which got him...
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And this was, to him, this is my reaction to why I can't do my comedies anymore. Yeah.
Like, fuck you, here's something dark as hell.
Yeah. And then he got Academy Award nominated for Best Director, and his film got a Best Picture nomination, which I have thoughts on, but okay. Like
maybe one day we'll get to that.
We will definitely get onto it next week.
Okay.
I will just say that. We will definitely talk about that next week. So tune in next week where we review Old School, starring Vince Vaughn, Will Ferrell, and Luke Wilson, directed by Todd Phillips. I am The Wiz.
And I'm Kim Shactman.
Talk to you next time.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.